So let's play. Let's go to the Orthodox Muslim clip, and people can watch that, and then I'll have it so I can clip it. Ortho. Hold on. YouTube. Okay, so here we are, and let us see here. Doobie-doo. Was in his, let me see, lives. It's this one. All right, so here's the background. He had been going on an hour, and let me put this on. Present. He had been going on an hour, and I managed to pop on, and he was arguing with a guy about Hosea, and he was arguing something kind of weird. And so let me go to Okay. So right about here, they're arguing about the meaning of Baal in Hosea.
It says that. It does say that. He said,
so
you
then
will no longer call me Baal.
So good. So then you can't call God Baal anymore. That's an inappropriate word.
I can even concede to that point.
Good.
It was a dumb idea to concede to that
you
point.
could use the meaning of the
They
word.
want to know why?
Did not want, you see, he shifted this guy away from the fact that Baal in Hosea is actually a Canaanite deity that they were worshiping instead of God. Is that DJ Khaled? No, he looks a little skinnier when you see him like in the front face, but he does kind of look like it there. We need the best music. All right. Anyway. All right. So let's go.
One sec. I'm just landing here. So the word itself, you don't use anymore, but the meaning is correct, right? So the word Father, we don't use anymore, but the meaning that is maker and creator is correct.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? I could concede to that point, right? Because like you guys.
Oh, this is too far back. It's going to be.
Is unlawful, not the meaning. Do you understand? The term itself is unlawful.
I did hear you. I did hear you. I did understand.
So both Baal and Father, those terms are unlawful, but their meanings are correct. Do you understand?
I definitely understand where you're coming from. However, right, words have meaning, right? And so for you to say, the meaning is true, but the word is false.
I didn't say the word is false. I said the word, sir. I said the word
is no longer valid. It's no longer.
I said the word is unlawful, just like you just conceded. Baal is unlawful, dude. Are you not tracking or what?
I'm tracking. I'm here with you, bro. I'm here with you. I'm right there with you, man. I swear I'm not slow, man. I'm right here with you. I got a master's degree, bro. Here's the fact.
All right, teacher. Thank you for coming, man. Thank you. Yeah, I can't do it, bro. Can't do
We
it.
the best. All I do is win.
This is funny.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you kind of see. You can't stop seeing it.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Hi.
How's it going, man? How's it going, Mr. Joseph Sweden? Sweden. Is that? Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. And what's your name?
My name is Libyano. You can call me Libyano.
Okay, Libyano. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess this is a defend. It just said defend your religion. Now the argument you were having with the last guy on Baal, I didn't quite understand the context behind it.
Yeah. So he was arguing that Jesus could have not been a Muslim because Jesus called his God Father.
But Jesus is God for us, and so that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that, sir.
Okay.
So his argument was that Jesus called God Father, and therefore he does not qualify to be a Muslim. And I said, well, we don't actually have a problem with Jesus calling God Father, nor the prophets calling God Father, as long as it was said and meant in the correct sense, which the prophets are infallible and they don't say what is wrong about God.
Did any other prophet call him father?
Of course.
Which one?
Isaiah and Moses.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
Now this was from you had a thing from Hosea, correct?
Yeah, Hosea chapter 2.
Chapter 2. And if we look at the context of that verse, that was 16, I think you said. 2:16.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And so like we get to the beginning of the chapter and we get to verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And so this is a chapter which is using these the actions of an unfaithful woman as a comparison to the Israelites being unfaithful to God, correct?
That's right.
And so in that we see, verse 8, so corn, wine, and oil, multiplied silver and gold used in the service of Baal. And then we see, obviously he's issuing a corrective. He's taking away what is rightfully his as opposed to Baal's. Verse 10 is about her unfaithfulness.
Yeah.
And then we get to 13, visiting her upon her the days of Baalim, to whom she burnt incense.
Yeah.
This is, again, these are references to unfaithfulness. So
Right.
my question is, how does verse 16 apply? They weren't supposed to worship Baal. They weren't supposed to call him Baal.
I never claimed that they worshipped Baal. No.
But they did.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't say that they worshipped. That they thought that God was Baal and that God told them to.
Well, but they were praying to Baal. That's the whole point of the chapter.
So why does God say, "Don't call me Baal anymore"?
Because he's not Baal.
So
Baal is a false god.
Yeah, they called him Baal.
They literally went to worship false gods.
No, not worship. Not talking about that. Did they call the God of Israel Baal?
Okay, what does it matter if they called him the god?
Did they do that or not?
Yeah, they did. They were wrong. That's the whole point.
They're not wrong because
no, they're absolute. The whole point of the prophecy is that they're wrong.
Just one second. We're gonna see about that. Okay.
Yeah. Just go to the first part of the chapter.
Yeah, no, we're not just gonna do that. We're gonna pull it up here in 1 second. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're in Isaiah 54:5, where God says.
Why are we moving from Hosea?
To give context.
So the context is in Hosea.
That's right. Well, can you just calm down, sir? Thank you.
I can.
Yeah, so just calm down. I'm just going to read the text, okay? Thank you so much.
I'm calm.
So it says, for your maker...
The old ticker.
Yeah, for your maker is your husband. Do you know the word used for husband in the Hebrew?
No, I don't know Hebrew.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. The word right here is... It's Baal.
Really?
Really? Because Baal.
No. Can you scroll out a little bit?
Yep. There we go. We're in Isaiah. It's used in Genesis and Deuteronomy 22.
All right, let's try this. I realize that.
Here we go. Wait. Isaiah 54:5. That's an occurrence. For your husband is your maker. The word is your Baal. So. Okay. God uses the term.
Okay, let's try this again.
Let me finish my point, please.
Sure.
The point is, God uses the Hebrew term Baal and applies it to himself because the term simply means husband or master in the Hebrew. However, because of its idolatrous association with false deities, he tells the Israelites to not use this name no longer.
Can I? You good now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what meat is?
Meat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
eat meat?
You eat meat. Yeah, I ate meat today.
Have you ever gone to meet with a person to eat meat?
Yeah, I went to meet with a person with a double E. Yeah, that's
right. It doesn't. You see, the thing is, what you're doing is using a homonym to deny
it's not a homonym.
It is a. Okay.
It's not a homonym.
A homonym is a similar sounding word.
But it's not. This is not a similar sound. It's the same word.
Okay, you cannot
Do you want
deny.
me to establish that? Do you want me to substantiate that? You're claiming that this is a homonym. I'm saying no. It's not just a similar sounding word. It is the same word.
Are you saying that there was no Canaanite deity named Baal?
No, you're missing the point. I'm saying the deity is called Baal, and in that context, that's a proper name. But in Hebrew, there is a word that means master or husband. In Hosea chapter 2, God says, don't use this word anymore. Instead, use Ishi. Ishi and Baal mean the same thing in Hebrew. Both of them mean husband or master. But God says, don't use Baal. Don't call me that anymore. Use Ishi. And if we go check the commentaries, it says, because of its idolatrous association, the Israelites were outlawed. Let me finish.
What commentary?
Just the contemporary commentaries that we have.
Oh,
I know
contemporary commentaries.
I know you're Orthodox, so maybe you don't like that. But
no, don't respect it at all.
Yeah, that's besides the point. So,
I'd like to get back to chapter 2 because what I'm seeing, there's no evidence.
Just one second, Father Joseph. What are you arguing here exactly? Because it seems like we're on the same page. I don't know what you're pushing back on.
Well, my point is that in Hosea, he's literally talking about the people worshiping.
What do you think I'm arguing?
I think you're trying to argue basically that because the generic term Baal can have a meaning that can be discarded because of associations with it, that is part of the reason why father was not a preferred term by the prophets, even though...
I didn't say that. Yeah, so you're missing my point. I didn't say father is not a preferred. I didn't say that. I said, just as terms could be outlawed, although they have a correct meaning, because Baal in Hebrew just means master or husband, and God uses the term for himself. I'm your husband. I'm your Baal. Although the term has a correct meaning, just wait. The term is outlawed, similar to father. The prophets used father, but the term, because of your idolatrous usage of it, was later outlawed by the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yes.
No, I would say that usage has not been terminated. But since you are you're going by the teachings of the prophet, etc. Yeah. I'd love to get back to Hosea because that verse is very interesting in its translation.
Well, I just told you what it like. You're not even understanding it, but you think I'm saying something else. I'm saying similarly to what you have there, how God says, "Don't call me Baal." God says, "Don't call me Father anymore."
Right, and what I would say is A, that's wrong, and B, on verse 17 of that same book, of that same chapter, it says, "I will take the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and she shall no more remember their name."
That's right.
This implies that we're talking about a name. We're not talking about a descriptive term.
Yeah. Sorry, you're missing the point. So the term in the Hebrew Baal, is not a name. But because
it is in this case a name.
Yeah, in the case of false deities. But I'm saying because that name coincides with the Hebrew term that the Israelites used for God to call him their husband. Okay.
That's not what they were doing. They were worshiping false gods.
Sir, does he say, "Don't call me Baal anymore"? Yes or no?
He says, "I will take the names of the Baalim out of her mouth, and I'll remember them no more."
In verse 16, does he?
This is verse 17.
Wait, does he say, "Don't call them Baal"? Does he say, "Don't call me Baal"?
He says, "She will no longer call me Baal," because they were worshiping falsely.
Okay, were they calling the God of Israel Baal or a false deity Baal?
They were worshiping another deity.
Okay,
and calling it the God of Israel.
Good. So why does he say, "No longer call me Baal"?
Because in earlier verses, they were worshiping false gods.
Okay, so the God of Israel is the false God they were worshiping?
No, you keep saying that, but that's not what it says.
So then why does he say, "Don't call me Baal"?
Because they don't exist. They're dead. So the only person they're praying to, that's my point. The only person that they're praying to is him, despite the fact that they're trying to worship false gods.
Good. So the false deities they're worshiping is the God of Israel.
No.
That's what you
He's
said.
saying that they are wasting their sacrifices on false gods and must return to him.
Right. So he says, no longer call me Baal, instead call me Ishi, right?
But he doesn't. Well, he didn't say Ishi here. But the whole point is, he
does say Ishi in the Hebrew.
Okay, well then we can look at the Hebrew. But the whole point is, the whole point of this is that it is not about them using the wrong name for God.
It is, because he says, don't call me Baal, instead call me Ishi.
I hate to be obtuse on this point, but the whole point is not that they were calling him the wrong name, but that they were worshiping the wrong God.
Okay. So in worshiping the wrong God, he said, guys, don't use Baal for the wrong God. Instead, use Ish for the wrong God. Correct?
I feel like the personal relationship that he has with his people is being missed on you. Like he's not like offering divine instructions to worship the right God.
You're just not answering the question. He says,
well, no, it's because you're giving a false dilemma.
So he says, don't call me Baal. What you're saying is, well, because they were worshiping false deities and really they don't exist, so they were calling him Baal. Correct?
Well, the false deities are demons, if we're going to be honest, but they're not gods.
Okay, good. So when he says don't call me Baal, he's not actually referring to himself, right?
No, because they're worshiping, probably they were using the same worship with the wrong names.
Good. So he's not referring to himself. Check this out. The rest of the verse, instead call me Ishi. So he's saying, instead call the false god Ishi?
That she shall call me my husband and call me no more Bali. You vanished. You said let's look at this. Now you're like disappeared.
Give me a second. I'm gonna get it.
Okay, yeah. Take your time. Take your time. Everything all right? Something happened? Uh-oh. Just reading the comments, guys. Something happened to the camera. Maybe it needs to just be. Sometimes the plugs get loose. Trust me, I understand completely. Things like this happen. It's full. It's just they happen. We'll be back soon. There it is. See, it's working again. All right. Welcome back.
All right, let's make this quick because I got somewhere to go. But.
All right, can I ask my question?
Yeah, sure. So, but remember, you got caught because you said
I didn't get caught.
You did, because you said they're worshiping him. He's saying, when he says, don't call me Baal, that's not actually referring to him. But then he says, instead, call me Ishi. So then the false god that the worship.
Yeah, my husband, right.
So call the whole false god husband, right?
No, he's the real God. That's why he's talking.
He's referring to himself. Then he is talking about himself.
But he's saying that the people are worshiping the wrong God.
He says, like, "Don't call me Baal." So he's the wrong God.
I highly recommend everyone just read the whole chapter.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, what's your question?
My question is, I know that there are verses in the Quran that deal with you're gonna have to correct how I say it. The Injil.
Yes.
Okay. Like I know that we the Christians are referred to the Injil in the Quran. Like we have to go back to the Injil to understand. Correct?
What do you mean go back to the Injil?
Well, that's what the verse says. Something like go back to the Injil and the Torah for understanding.
It says that the people of the book shall judge by what Allah has revealed therein and what has come to them.
Yes, there we go. Perfect. Yeah. So which one? There's four Injils in the New Testament. Well, it's the Injil according to each one. So those are good for understanding. If I understand that, I'm good with like Islam.
No, yeah. So, like our earliest exegetes say, that's referring to the jurisprudence rulings that are given by Christ, as long as they don't contradict the Quran, because what follows the verses and what has been revealed to you from your Lord. So, you are to observe the Torah, the Gospel, and what has been revealed to you from your Lord, the Quran. The Quran's authority over the Gospel and the Torah, just like Christ was an authority over the Torah. And so, you are to follow the Torah, the teachings of the Pharisees, like he says in chapter 23, but when Jesus disagrees with their interpretation, you have to follow the interpretation of Christ. So Christ has
Okay, right. Okay, so following with the Torah, you have to follow the interpretation of Christ. Okay,
right.
All
And let me. So it sounds like you got the last half and not the first half. So when you follow the gospel and the Torah, this is referring to min bab al-amr wa nahi. So regarding its rulings on jurisprudence, as long as they're not abrogated by the Quran.
the Quran abrogated some of the rulings of the gospel?
Yeah, just like Jesus abrogated some of the rulings of the Torah.
I don't know that he abrogated it, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, he did. Let's go through them right now. Can you
Sure.
divorce? Can you divorce?
You're not supposed to, no.
Yeah, you're not supposed to, but can you?
For adultery,
Oh, okay. But outside of adultery, can you divorce?
no.
Okay, in the Torah, can you divorce?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he abrogated it.
Well, he didn't abrogate it. He actually stated
That's
that
the
was.
definition of abrogation.
Well, no, I would
Yeah,
disagree.
that's
I would
the
say.
definition of
Well,
abrogation.
can we go to the verse in the?
Before we go to the verse, abrogation is when something is permissible at one point, and later it is no longer permissible.
Right.
Did that happen?
No.
So it was never permissible to divorce?
Right. If you read what Christ said there, can we go to it? Well, you can laugh, but can we just go to the verse?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not a dramatic person.
It's in Matthew 15, I think. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Matthew 15. Let's go.
Yeah. Matthew 5, sorry, not Matthew 15.
Okay, great.
All right, here we go.
All right, so let's see what it says. Okay, so,
Here we go. So it has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you, anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery, and anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery.
Can you click the full chapter thingy?
Sure.
Thank you.
Verse 31. Let's go.
Not
there.
a big fan of the NIV, but still.
That's fine. Uh-huh. So then, was divorce permissible?
Hold on. Yeah, that's not the right one. Give me a second.
All right. All right.
If you bear with me, I'm not. It's not a disagreement. It's because these the Gospels, as you know, have different wordings. Some with more explanatory tones than others.
Because they're plagiarized from one another. That's why.
They're not plagiarized. They were written by individual writers.
No, they weren't. That's consensus scholarship, by the way.
That's modern scholarship, which is disproving itself desperately.
Which is greater than anything Saint Irenaeus of Lyon ever said.
I disagree. Okay, that's utter garbage. I'm sure you apply that same standard to Islam.
No, I don't.
How?
Islam is online with scholarship. Christianity is on the other side.
I disagree completely. I think that it's the other way around, and you want to present it differently.
Well, that's why we're here. So.
Okay, go to Matthew 19:8-9.
That's a completely different chapter, completely different.
But it's the same book, so it's the same author.
Yeah, but I asked about divorce, though.
Can we? Right, and I'm telling you, go to Matthew 19:8. Matthew
19:8. Okay, let's go there. Here it says, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard, but it was not this way from the beginning. That's what it says.
In other words, the standard had never changed from Old Testament.
Okay, wait, but that's not what I asked. I said, was it permissible?
It's not an issue. But you're asking what the rule is.
Was it permissible?
By God? Originally, no.
By God? Show me that in the Torah.
I just showed you that from the gospel.
No, show me that in the Torah. Because you said
no.
in the Torah,
Like,
Torah it's not allowed.
Well, no, you asked me if it was allowed
Okay,
in
so
the Torah.
is it allowed in the Torah?
Explaining why. Yes,
Is it-
because of
is
the
it allowed
hardness
in
of their hearts.
Okay, good.
Because the people were flawed.
Good. So that it was allowed and later no longer allowed.
No, it was originally not allowed, but the people were so rotten, God allowed it. So
Okay, so then it was not allowed.
Right.
Then he allowed it. Then he
Yep.
canceled it again. That's
right, because
abrogation.
he realized he had better people.
There you go. So that's abrogation. So you just
That's not, but that's not abrogation. It's the
that's
original
what
rule.
That's what abrogation.
Unless
is.
you're saying what Moses did was abrogation.
No, Moses didn't abrogate Moses.
No, what I'm saying is the original law of God was abrogated by Moses for divorce, and Christ was returning it to its original.
Yeah, if you're claiming that the original law, which there's no evidence for, that's
literally what Jesus just said.
Yeah. Oh my God! 1 second, Max. 1 second.
Camera problems, they happen. Hope he's all right.
All right. So
by the way, someone offered to donate a camera.
No, it's okay. I have a good camera. It's fine.
Oh.
Anyway, so you're saying if you're claiming that there's an original magical law
Not
that
magic.
existed,
Just true.
right? There's no evidence for it, if that's the case. But there's an original law that existed that didn't allow divorce. Then Moses came and he allowed divorce. Then Jesus came and he took it back. Then that still would be abrogation. So that's fine.
Okay, so this list of abrogations that we're talking about that Christians need to follow, that's the Injil according to the Quran.
Yep.
Where can I find it?
Yeah, sure. You'll find that in documents like Q. You'll find that in
Q?
Matthew. Yes.
Q is just pieces of manuscripts.
No, it's not. There's no manuscripts for Q actually.
Well, we're assuming Q is,
There's no manuscripts for Q. Okay.
Is that how can we read what you can't see?
No, you can't see it. You want me to tell you what it is?
Q? No, I feel like you're going to say the Quran, but now you're going to be on Q, and I want to know.
I'm going to tell you exactly what the Injil is. Are you ready for it?
I am ready for it.
Right. The Injil are the oral teachings, parables, and prophecies of Christ that he makes in his lifetime he receives from God. And
so like the apostolic canon. So
let me finish. No, it's not. And when we apply our historical rigorous methodology, we could find out that the historical Christ was an apocalyptic preacher. He preached the kingdom of God to come. He had 12 disciples. As a matter of fact, the parables and the teachings found in the Gospel of Matthew, about 90% of the 85% of them are Islamic in nature. And I could say Q because that represents a historical Christ.
But there is no Q, is there?
There is Q. Q is everything, a double tradition found in Matthew and Luke that we don't find in Mark, assuming the two-source hypothesis.
Wow, you know a lot about this modern biblical criticism, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and if you had time studying it, you wouldn't be wasting your time being whatever you're doing now.
Well, I'm actually Orthodox, so we don't believe in any of these ridiculous modern 20th century theories. No, they're hypotheses.
Because if you had studied the New Testament text critically, you wouldn't be worshiping three gods and wasting your time.
I don't worship three gods. I worship one God in Trinity.
According to Gregory of Nyssa, then you have to count three gods if you count the way we count things.
I don't think Gregory of Nyssa ever confessed three gods, so that's. I
didn't say he confessed three gods.
He kind of just said he. No,
I didn't say that. I said according to Gregory of Nyssa in his letter on Not Three Gods, he says that if we were to count things by the way we usually count, we would count three gods. And so we count by division in order to count one God. We count one nature by division. But that's not the way we count things. That's why Gregory of Nyssa says we should change the ridiculous habit of counting things by identity, and we should start counting things by division. So there's 3 men in a room. We should count 1 man because really there's 1 human nature.
Okay, well, first off, I'd love to see the quote from St. Gregory of Nyssa.
It's not a single quote. That's what he says in the whole letter. It's literally called on not.
So this is an interpret on. Okay, so let's look at on not 3 gods for a second, if you've got that much time. So I have a feeling it's not going to say what you think it says.
Okay, well, it's just you've clearly not studied your fathers.
Well, no, I've studied them quite well. That's why I'm very confident it doesn't say what you think it said.
All right. So what analogy does Gregory of Nyssa give for the Trinity? If you study,
let's take a look.
But you said
not 3 gods. I have studied them, but that doesn't mean they're considering that there's thousands and thousands of pages. You haven't either. So let's not pretend claims.
I've read almost every letter of the Cappadocians.
The Cappadocians are 3 fathers.
That's right.
Hundreds.
That's right.
Hundreds.
But those 3 fathers make up the majority of your doctrine anyway. Besides Gregory of Palamas and John of Damascus, those are your most influential church fathers.
Well, I would say that they are very influential, but all of the fathers in consensus must be used to understand things.
Yeah,
it just can't. Right. So,
that's fine.
I'd love to have a discussion on the Cappadocian fathers if you want to set up a time for it. I have no problem with that.
We can have I'm going to show you how they were all tritheists, polytheists who worship 3 gods.
And I'm going to disagree with you. That's why I said we could have a discussion on it separately.
Of course you are. But yeah, so how is there 1 God? How would you count 1 God?
There is only 1 God.
Yeah, which counting method are you using?
Counting method?
How are you counting 1 when there are 3?
I count 1 God.
How? When there are 3 with divinity?
3 persons.
That's right.
1 singular essence.
So why don't we count 3 gods?
They're not 3 gods. They're 3 persons in the one.
That's fine. I'm asking why can't we count 3 gods?
Because they're not separate from each other. They're indivisible.
Oh, nice. Are the energies separate from each other?
The energies are okay. What are you trying to say? Explain that, because the energies, the essence of God.
You believe in essence energy distinction, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Good. So, do you believe the energies are separable from one another?
What do you mean by separable?
Can they be separated from the essence?
Not completely. No.
Good. How many? Are there many energies or 1 energy?
It's technically it can be split into any number of things.
Oh, okay. Nice. So then
do you understand the difference between essence and energy?
Yes, of course. So
what's the difference?
I'll tell you the difference in a second. So separability does not mean that you count 1 of that type, right? Because otherwise you would count 1 energy of God. The energies of God are how God interacts with his creation. They are his
Absolutely right.
How God interacts, his love, his anger, his mercy. This is how he interacts with the world. Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are the energies of God. Okay, and Gregory of Palamas breaks that down, quite well. But anyways, you're right. So your argument was that we don't count 3 gods because they're not separate, but the energies are not separate. Then we don't count 1 energy; we count many energies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all true.
So then why the argument why would we count 1 God instead of 3 gods?
Well, because it is 1 God. When we're talking about the energies,
this is just 1 water bottle. I can say that.
Well, it's not true. You can. There's 2 of them.
How many bottle natures are there?
Bottle natures? There's only 1.
Yeah. Well, so why don't we count 1 bottle then? If there's 1.
Well, they are of 1 bottle nature, but they are 2 bottles.
They share the same essence?
Well, I have no idea how the essence of plastic works. However,
they have the same
they're plastic bottles. You're comparing God to plastic bottles.
No, I'm using the same principles that apply universally. So when we count things, we count by distinction, not by division. So there's 2 human beings. We have 1 human nature. We don't count 1 human, we count 2 humans. Likewise, when there's 2 instances of divinity, 1 divine nature, we count 2 gods or 3 gods instead of 1 God, sir.
And
So
what
that's
happens
why
when you're doing that
calculating.
with water? If you have 2 glasses of water, the properties of water are exactly the same in both. However, and water isn't uncountable like
Right.
God.
And guess what? Water doesn't work because water and gold and steel and things of that nature are mass terms. Do you believe that God is some kind of stuff that the person shares?
No. God, I believe God is outside in his essence of everything.
Okay, good. So then it doesn't work because when we say there's 2 water bottles and how many waters we count, well, we count 1 water, but that's because water is a mass term. This is just a linguistic fix. Okay, we don't say there's 2 bodies of water. Okay, we don't say there's 2
You can't
waters.
actually say there's 2 bodies of water.
No, I understand. But in your analogy, when you're saying, look, there's this and this, how many waters are there?
Well, I wasn't saying that. That's your analogy.
No, you're the one who used it. You said, what about water? You just said it. You said, what
right,
about
but you're
water?
the one who created the bottle analogy. I didn't.
Yeah, so that's a mass term. It doesn't
What does
work.
this have to do with the Trinity? It's like holding up 3 bottles of water doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because you have 3 instances of one nature, and yet you count one God. But when we have 2 instances of humanity, you count 2 humans. When we have 2
because
instances
they're 2 beings.
Okay,
They're
then
2
your God
separate
would be
beings.
3. Then instances are beings. So then your God is 3 beings, 3 gods.
Well, he's a triune being. He
Okay,
has 3 persons in his nature.
Now, what you're asserting that, I'm saying, what justifies that? Why is it 1 God instead of 3 gods?
We believe that that's what. Well, we believe that that's what was taught through the apostles and fathers. That's why you do find expressions of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in Scripture.
Well, no, they didn't teach that at all because there's not.
No, that's not true.
There's not a single ante-Nicene father who taught consubstantiality.
Well,
not a single one of them. Not Dr. Martyr, not Theophilus, not Athenagoras, not Tatian.
If you'd like to go, you can list off the names all you want, but if you want to go through those, I don't think you actually have studied this.
Okay,
and frankly, I think you're just listing off names. That's why you mentioned Q, this fantasy hypothesis from modernist scholars.
Right.
Now you're listing off a list of fathers you didn't read. How about this? You can have a discussion on it if you want to, with the actual quotes.
Just wait. You said it's a fantasy hypothesis, but it's been consensus in the 1800s. And Dr. John.
Yeah, by German liberal scholars. Okay.
Well, those
German liberal scholars wrote it. That's why.
Those German liberal scholars.
Wow.
Yeah, those German liberal scholars have given us critical value of this text more than any of your so-called Greek pagan church fathers.
I disagree. Greek pagan church fathers. How about your pagan German theologians?
Well,
you want to throw names off?
They're certainly pagan, but they were smart pagans, not like your church.
Okay, yeah, well that's typical. Follow the smart pagans. Good job.
Yeah.
Anyway, I follow the enlightened Christians. So those church fathers you call pagans, the ones that you just listed off but didn't read. I mean, we can have a discussion on it. Do you want to have this? You want to have a discussion on that or no?
Yes,
not today, obviously. You're busy.
I'd love to have. I'm actually. I'm not even home. I'm traveling, but I'd love to have a discussion. How about this? I'm gonna start a live just for you, actually, tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna start
tomorrow. Let me think. To be fair, can I have a second to think? Because tomorrow,
yes,
I think I should be able to. I think I should.
Yes,
I'll have to. I've got to ask. I have to ask my wife. So if I have to cancel, I'll apologize on stream. I'm trying to think.
No worries. We'll
what
start
time?
Let's do it around the same time tomorrow.
So like around when do we start? Like 8:30, I guess, or
right now it's 9:30. So
right now it's 9. Yeah, but we've been talking a while. So
yeah. So 8:30. 9.
Can you give me a second? I'll go ask my wife. It's the right thing to do. That's how I do things.
Sure thing, man. Sure thing. But just make it quick because I gotta go.
Right. It'll be 30 seconds.
Sure, man. Go ahead. Q rejects Jesus as the Messiah. Are you stupid? Of course Q doesn't reject Jesus as the Messiah. No, it's not a formal debate. It's just going to be a discussion, guys. Just a discussion. Guys, I wasn't calling the uncle stupid. I was calling somebody in the comments. People just...
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, tomorrow at 9's great.
Sounds good.
Can we share the stream? Because like I know that sometimes you can do that because I have my own channel too.
Sure, we can do it. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, awesome.
Tomorrow at 9. If you can message my Instagram, we'll talk. It'll be just an unmoderated discussion, just a regular discussion, and we could go through everything that we should have gone through today, but I'm busy. So
yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good, Father Joseph. Have a good one, brother. Thank you.
All right, you too. God bless.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I gotta go now. Thank you everybody who.
Okay. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Yeah. So then we had the stream yesterday. I did not realize he said contact me on Instagram, so I wrote him at 9:04. He didn't answer, so I ended the stream. I took it as my fault. And so that was fine. He did write earlier this morning, and he ended up saying that he got really busy and couldn't do it anyway, but that just we'll look for a time and date we can work on. So that's on the table. I'm kind of looking forward to see what he has to say about the church fathers when we actually open the actual books. Like we did with Hosea. So let me see here. Percival has been collecting fallacious appeals, it appears. Brian, seen as Gargan, reverse the burden of proof. He promotes a deity that promotes incestual relations with his stepbrother's daughter. YouTube precludes me from stating explicitly when his stepbrother remonstrated. Romo asked, Father Joseph, what is an Orthodox Muslim? I missed it if he said what it is. I believe it's more of a marketing term, although there is a use for the term Orthodox Islam, which is basically Sunni Islam of the kind of the more popular the schools. However, let me see. Percival says appeals listed incredulity, straw man, ad hoc ergo proctor, intellectuality, populum ad absurdum. Yeah. Well, he's not gonna. I doubt he's gonna post that video at all because, he wasn't happy with it. But I will now that it's clipped in my stream, so I'll do that tomorrow. But I know he uses Itvas, correct Muslim. Yeah, you need to understand what the Quran actually says. Yeah, absolutely. And I've noticed when he started appealing to Q, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So it was just ridiculous. That's Jay Dyer. It's now 17 days since we've invited him to debate on Vocab Malone's channel. Since he's not responding, and it seems like his fans are now telling me one by one to leave him alone. I feel like I need to put the pressure on because we know Jay doesn't ever stray from a fight, ever. So yeah, Toronto Bumpkin, almost 18 days now. And I'm keeping this thing on. I'm keeping it on. It's just gonna become part of a regular rotation. So in any case, we'll keep it there. But again, this is only possible. We are doing a 3-hour stream, which will end in about 15 minutes because of the generosity of our community here. We broke down to 371 for the weekly target, meaning we have made $129 for the day. I was originally going to go 2 hours. I think that's going to be my regular rule, unless we can get it up because I need to pay bills and stuff. So anyway, Let's see here what we've got here. Since it is a bonus hour, I'm just putting up every thing I can. Without lies, Islam said Muhammad affirmed the scriptures Christians had in their hands. He called them the Injil. Exactly. And he did the same with the Torah, which he called the Torah. I knew that he was going to say something, but that's why I kept pushing for what is Q. If it's Q, where can you get it? Because there is no Q. It's just made up. Lamont says he won't debate you because you don't have a big enough audience. That is absolutely untrue. He debates lots of people with smaller audiences. He only debates people that he can beat. Before, debate him. After, leave him alone. Absolutely. Sharif says, when you say to a human his spirit, that means it's the spirit that dwells in him. When you say to a God is a spirit, that means God's created spirit, like when a human says, my car, my house. But you're missing my point. The spirit animates a human being. If Allah has a spirit, then how was he able to make a spirit if he didn't have a spirit? Libyano was debating some Christian dude earlier today. He brought up Q in that debate too. Yeah, he thinks that's like his ace in the hole, and it's really not. So I'm waiting to see when we debate. It should be interesting. He'll probably bring that up again. Yeah, Libyano. We have manuscripts from that time and before. I know what they had. We know what they had in their hands. Absolutely. Allah forbade us from cherry picking our scriptures, or He will send us to hell. Yeah, well, I know. But, Arthur just says, gotta commit immigration jihad now. Romogata says, did Rokor send the letter to the MP about the issues ongoing? If so, what might become of it? Realistically, the MP probably ordered Rokor to write something like that. Rokor MP, not the rest of Rokor or free people. Without lies, our scriptures debunk the Quran. Absolutely. Absolutely. We didn't even get into it there because I was just so surprised that his weird interpretation of Hosea, where he was trying to argue that Baal wasn't a real Canaanite deity. It just seemed so ridiculous. But in any case, yeah. So we're at the kind of the end of our live Q&A. Anyone can pop in still for the next 13 minutes if you want to, or ask your questions in the chat. Because this was provided by Super Chat Victory, all comments are going up on the screen unless they violate terms of service. So whatever you guys want to continue talking about, I'm going to increase my screen with this new setup that it has. I wonder if let me see here. Okay, you see I can read these. I can read everything, and it's amazing. So yeah, now you can see me without without the label. So this is pretty funny. But in any case, so hopefully we will. Right now, it looks like the status of our debates is the one that is confirmed is against Adam Coptic on August 5th at 9 on the the Gospel Truth channel. And so let me see here. Or there just says, my bad, I'm going to be banned with all my Islamophobia. No, not necessarily. I mean, you're in a safe space here. You're among friends. Father, do you think the Hindenburg blink was an inside job to make us use planes to give us radiation and use Rockefeller oil? I never thought about that one. That's kind of dark. I don't know. I mean, the whole plane thing to me is still, somewhat sketch. I kind of prefer boats. His point was that God said to stop using a certain Hebrew word that used to be okay because it was the name of the false god, so he made it illicit from that point forward. 2 RCC notes on Katana agree. Well, they can, but all you have to do is read the chapter, and it begins talking about the whoredom of the bride and the wasting of resources on Baal and on false gods. The whole point is, his point in saying that is, my God, I'm God, my beloved, I'm going to take care of you. You use the proper name for me because you are wasting your incense on false gods. That's the whole purpose of the thing. You're wasting your rice and other things that they were sacrificing. I think that's a weak interpretation. Reckon Keys said, did you know the Titanic was an inside job because there were several people against the enactment of a central bank? I've heard that one. I have. I'm on the Titanic. Right. Yeah, I know. Percival says, this has been fun, gang. If you guys would like to come back sometime, I'm happy to do so. Have a good night. You're always welcome, Percival. Always welcome. So thank you for showing up, and glad to see glad to get another great person to discuss. Trying to set up a dawa to refute his points. Metathrono says, what's the role of relics in Orthodoxy? Relics can be found as far back as the Acts of the Apostles, and they can be found in the Old Testament in the bones of Elisha and in the Acts with the handkerchiefs of St. Paul. The point is that things that touch holy people, things that have been in contact with them, can almost they can almost be used to draw how do I put this? Like to draw grace, for lack of a better word. In the same way, like the woman who touched the hem of Christ's garment was able to heal through faith. So that's that's kind of where that comes from. But sometimes it can appear grotesque to an outsider, but it is there in the scriptures. Moreover, brethren says, don't call me Baal fallacy. Atomically, trust the plan. Q dawa. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a good argument, but he was just very good at saying, okay, hold on. But what happens when you don't have a time limit? I'll just let you hold on. And then when you're done, I'll say, okay, so where's Q? Oh, it's there somewhere. No, it's not. I'm not going to let that go. But then his camera went off and you heard a whole bunch of noise and, hope he's okay. Ortho just says, I don't think he'll have you on again. I have a feeling you might be right. So, which is the most grotesque of relics? Well, I mean, relics, or they're the remains often of saints. So, on Twitter, a very famous one that was freaking people out was there were some old believers who I guess had lifted the foot of a saint that had already kind of shrunk. It appeared to be incorrupt, but it had kind of shrunk and was dry. And they used it to bless holy water or something like that. And there were some people, this freaked out a lot of people on X. They were like, what's this? Is this Burger King foot religion? And, it was bad. But Recon says, Father, what do you think about the ether and free energy, and Rockefeller try to scam us that free energy exists? Well, I mean, it was Tesla, I think, who first kind of suggested that. I think there were some others behind it. There is free energy in the air. It's just a question of whether you have a proper collector. And so the claims are that there are collectors that are capable of working as well as other things. I haven't seen it. Without lies, Islam Dad says even the hypothetical Q debunks Islam because it proves Jesus is God. So dumb. Well, yeah, I think that when they were trying to construct Q, they were trying to at least come up with something that matched the Orthodox Christian position. Happy Hour says, after debates with Justin from Deconstruction Zone, do you feel victorious or did he send you to the cemetery? That's a great question. Actually, because people have been asking me for the video, it turns out that our friends at The Machine Lies asked me on to do a review. It should be ready to put up tomorrow, most likely. And you will see that, no, he definitely did not send me to the cemetery. He definitely wanted to send me to the cemetery. He couldn't do that with an argument, so he just had his fans threaten me. Let me see. Savez says, can you pull up a reconstruction of Q and show us where it says Jesus is God? I'm not a big Q guy. From what I understood, Q was hypothetical, and it was a construction of different documents or reconstruction of different documents, but it does say that, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't like saying anything contradictory to the Gospels. It was trying to explain the common origin of the Gospels. So let's go back here, and I am checking, not chicken. Lava chicken. Anyway, so let me see here. Well, according to Mr. Without Lies, it does, and Without Lies, Islam Dies says DZ Justin is a clown. I'll just put that on the screen because he deserves it. Well, yeah, I mean, you could argue with him about it. You could ask, but the best thing you could do if you wanted to understand is, Savas, type in Q hypothesis in Google and just start reading, and you'll learn all about it. I don't agree with it. I think the traditional patristic interpretation is sufficient. However, if you want to read more, go ahead. Just Google it.